What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. Hope everybody had a really good Thanksgiving yesterday. And forgive me for using my phone. I usually use my laptop. Well, sometimes I use my phone, um, but I just want to make a quick video talking about Kyrie Irving. I did a video, of course, yesterday talking about Kyrie Irving, and I want to just clarify something that I said about Kyrie yesterday, make clearer. Um, Shout out to the brother Tiki TV. He did a video yesterday talking about this. And, if you're not subscribed to Tiki TV, please subscribe to Tiki TV. In my opinion, the best basketball channel on YouTube. Um, I just want to clarify something about what I said about Kyrie. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I was pro establishment or pro NBA, or like I was saying, like Kyrie needs to just ignore all criticism and be this robot. If I gave that impression, that was far from what I was trying to convey yesterday in my video. When Kyrie called the Boston Celtics fans ignorant and obtrusive, he was 100% correct. Although there are various Celtics players that I admire throughout their history, guys like, of course, Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Sam Jones, John Havlicek, Frank Ramsey, Tom Heinsohn, Dave Cowens, Robert Parrish, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Paul Pierce, the player, the analyst, whatever. Ray Allen, I like. Kevin Garnett turned into an asshole when he became a Celtic. I respect him as a player, but he was an asshole. And various others, Nate Archibald, JoJo White. The Celtic tradition is strong, man. Dennis Johnson, the late great Dennis Johnson. JoJo White passed away a couple of years ago too. It's a lot of great players that have gone through Bill Walton. But the culture of Boston, the city of Boston, the Boston faithful, I'm not going to say the most part, I'm going to say a good portion of Celtics fans are racist. And they don't treat the black players, in my opinion, with the respect that they deserve. And that goes not only just for the fans, but for the organization. Okay? We've all read and have heard the stories that Bill Russell has spoken of. He hasn't, if I'm not mistaken, Bill didn't really go on like a network tour crying about it, but we all know the shit that Bill Russell had to go through. Individuals breaking into his home, his family's home, and defecating in their beds, burning crosses on their lawns. You know what I'm saying? But meanwhile, they're cheering the Celtics. You know what I'm saying? But didn't want to give Bill Russell the credit he deserves as an all-time great. You got people to this day that still downrate Bill Russell, saying he was played against a bunch of bums and all this crap. Don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Don't even know what they're talking about. Bill Russell went against the most dominant center in NBA history and beat him multiple times. But people still want to come on here and say Bill Russell ain't a top 20 player, ain't a top this, ain't a top that. Robert Parrish, you saw I did a video just the other day. Just the other day I did a video talking about Robert Parrish and how if it wasn't for him, the Celtics wouldn't have won any of those titles, any of those 3 titles in the 80s without the Chief. Great rebounder, decent shot blocker, enforcer, you know what I'm saying, great scorer, great, shooting big man, you know what I'm saying, toughness. He brought toughness down low, and it was something they were lacking after they lost Dave Cowens. Look how they treat Isaiah Thomas. Not Zeke, but Isaiah Thomas, who went out there and averaged 29 points per game one year, was an MVP candidate. You know what I'm saying? The little man, 5'8", 5'9", you know what I'm saying, balling. Went out there and played in a game where if he didn't play, nobody on God's green earth would have blamed him. Because I know if I had a sister and I lost her and I found out literally an hour or so before the game, I probably would not have played. But he did. If memory serves me correct, he actually played pretty well. And what did Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics do? They traded his ass. But people want these players to be loyal to these organizations, but it's okay for the organization to treat the players like slaves, right? Like property. But you want the property to be loyal to the establishment, to the plantation in this situation, this analogy. So yeah, if I didn't make it clear about that, it's my fault. My only thing about Kyrie is I think that the brother probably has some type of personality disorder. It's kind of apparent that he has issues. There's some issue that he sometimes have, I guess, with his personality. Now, I know that the Nets players recently downplayed that and said, because there was a fake story that came out a couple of weeks ago, where they were accusing Kyrie of already rubbing people the wrong way. And we know what that's about. But my issue isn't Kyrie's effectiveness on the court. I remember before Kyrie went down last year, this was after Gordon Hayward had that terrible injury the first game of the 2018-19 season. And but I remember when Kyrie and the Celtics had that improbable run, all right, before Kyrie went down with his injury. I remember they had like a 14-game winning streak. And they were winning a lot of games at the buzzer. Kyrie was balling like crazy. Afterward, when he went down, you had guys like Scary Terry Rozier and other guys who, picked up the mantle and took up the slack. And they played well as a unit, but they were not in any way, shape, or form great players. And we're seeing that now with Terry Rozier with the Charlotte Hornets. All right. And the Celtics did go on to the Eastern Conference Finals, went to a Game 7 with the Cavaliers, but their lack of having that scoring punch, that guy that could take them, I'll put it like this, their lack of scoring eventually caught up with them in Game 7. So if Kyrie was there, who knows? The Celtics might have beaten the Cavaliers that year. But my only issue with Kyrie is he does seem to have a personality that might rub some people the wrong way. Like I said, I could be wrong. I'm on the outside looking in. But he's even admitted it, that maybe he hasn't handled certain situations the way he should have. So I don't know everything about what went down between him and LeBron James. I don't know everything. I don't really know anything other than what, you can read in the papers or what sources say. The only thing I do know is this. The first couple of years that Kyrie was there, he was the man with the Cavaliers. He was the main guy. He was their only guy. Those teams were poor. And they didn't win. They didn't win much, mostly because he didn't have anybody around him. But the Cavaliers were off the radar. I do notice that Kyrie seems to detest the spotlight a lot. Like he detests the burning spotlight and the criticisms that often come more so than the praise when you're a black athlete. Let's just be honest. You do get praise a lot. But when you don't succeed or fail, you get a lot of criticism. Let me tell you something. A lot of people that think Michael Jordan did this fair shake in the media, this ride, it wasn't like that when he was going against the Pistons. He got a lot of criticism. So, I don't know. Kyrie, when he talks about people in today's world being overly exposed, exposed to sport and overly preoccupied with sports, it's the culture we live in, man. We live in a dumbed down culture. People don't really care about everyday issues. They want other people to do it for them. You know what I'm saying? People claim to be conservatives, but in reality, there's something else. There's something else, excuse me. And people just want to be entertained. People just want feel good. You know what I'm saying? People like the celebrity now aspect of sports. You know, people, we look at these athletes as celebrities now. That wasn't the case some years ago. We just admire them for their exploits on the court. And now it's getting into these guys' personal lives. Now, when that aspect, when the argument is that, then I agree with Kyrie. But at the end of the day, it's a different era, man. It's a different era. And you don't have to deal with people disrespecting you. But the criticism that comes in the media, it's just that that's like kind of just the way it is, man. For some reason, some players draw criticism more so than others. Russell Westbrook is probably the most criticized athlete in the NBA right now. He gets probably no positive press whatsoever. Now, is some of it his own fault? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The turnovers, the first round exits, the bad execution, the bad decision making at times. Yeah, some of it is a lot of it's his fault. But there is definitely also an agenda. You know, the same way they treated Carmelo Anthony when they show like highlights of Russell Westbrook shooting air balls and missing free throws and missing jumpers and all that type of stuff, and they make him seem like to be the worst basketball player in the world, which he's not. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, Russell Westbrook still, but you can debate his greatness as a player, but he's still a historical player. He still did something that was historic, and people, instead of at least acknowledging that, will accuse him of being a stat padder and accuse him of hurting the team. So that just comes with territory, man. That's all I'm saying in my video, man. Like, Kyrie, I like him, you know what I'm saying? I don't think he got the credit he deserved when he was a Cavalier. You know what I'm saying? Hitting the biggest shot in that franchise history. And I think that he did get a poor, not a fair shake, excuse me, with the Boston Celtics. But hopefully with the Brooklyn Nets, especially with Kevin Durant next year, I think that that team will do very well. You know what I'm saying? And maybe it'll be a more comfortable role with Kyrie as a co-star rather than having to just be the sole leader of a team. But that's all I got to say, man. Tell me what you guys think.